We are finally back after 6 long weeks with no UFC, boys. That's the longest break of my entire life. 2 to 3 weeks in, I'm absolutely fiending for some UFC fights. There was some Octagon, KSW, BKFC, but nothing compares to the UFC. If you're new here, I'm going through and I'm giving one bet for every single fight on every single UFC card in 2026. I'm not giving predictions, picking these minus 900 favorites as winners. There's plenty of channels out there that do that, and that's totally fine. They make their predictions, but we're looking for the best bet, and we're giving one for every fight. I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm so amped up to get this year kicked off in 2026. It's going to be a big one. Let's start off with the first fight of the night, where we are getting Adam Fugit taking on the UFC debuter and Ty Miller. I don't have a whole lot to say about this fight. I think Adam Fugit is a tad bit slow at this stage in his career. He's a little bit older. He doesn't really let the hands go. He's more of a kick-heavy type of striker, might mix in some takedowns, might actually get a couple of takedowns in this spot against Ty Miller. We've seen Miller taken down on the regional scene, but Ty Miller is young. He's constantly improving. As long as the jitters don't get to him, I think this guy's going to be able to get up from takedowns, and I think his striking is just going to be, one, a lot faster than Adam Fugit, and I think he's going to be able to dish out a lot of damage too. The one thing I noticed with Ty Miller that I really, really like, especially with the young fighter, is that he's very calm, he's very composed, especially in the striking. I think he's going to piece up Adam Fugit come Saturday night, and to kick it off, let's go Ty Miller by KO for our first play of 2026. We got to hit this one, boys. And I think we're going to have a good chance to do so. I think the speed, the accuracy, the composure, and the power is going to be too much for Fugit. Ty Miller by KO is our first play of 2026. Fight number 2, Ricky Tersios is taking on Cameron Smotherman. To be honest, boys, I do not trust either one of these guys in this position whatsoever. Tersios, his striking is not powerful whatsoever. I'll give it to him. He'll march forward. He will try, but there's not much sting on his shots. It's not very technical. He'll throw some decent snappy kicks every now and then, but nothing that's really going to knock anybody out. I can't really trust him to, get takedowns every single fight, rack up control time, or lock in a submission. And for Cameron Smotherman, I can't trust the dude as far as I can throw him. We've seen him in the UFC beat Jake Hadley on short notice, and then come out and just lay 2 eggs in a row, not look good whatsoever. I was on Dan Levy's show, Half the Battle, and Narco Cop was on there as well, and he was saying that, he heard from somebody Smotherman actually almost retired from the sport of mixed martial arts, and then the UFC called him for a short notice fight, and that's what got him back into it. But honestly, man, he's been fighting like a guy that has been thinking about retirement. I think his striking is good when he's on. It's just he doesn't really let the hands go at times. He gets caught looking. He gets caught flat-footed. I don't like that a lot. However, I will say in this fight against Ricky Tersios, Ricky's not a guy who poses a big offensive threat with the power of the hands, so maybe Smotherman's going to feel more comfortable of getting his striking going here. And I kind of think that probably happens more often than him getting caught looking in a mirror like he has in his last fights. Ricky Tersios shouldn't be it's not a Ricky Simone or anything like that. So I think Smotherman wins the fight. It's just hard to find a play on this fight that's really worth going after, if I'm being honest. I think this is one of those, pass situations if you're going to. But this is the one bet show. It's one bet on every fight, no matter what. So we're going to look into it a little bit. It's one that I haven't placed yet because, like I told you guys, man, I don't trust either one of these guys. Let's see what the under is or something. Ricky gets hurt a little bit in fights. He could also take the back, maybe find a sub. So let's look at let's take some big plus money here. Fight to not go the distance, plus 175. I'll take a shot on it because, again, Ricky gets slow and sloppy in there, and Smotherman does have a little bit of power. Maybe he's going to catch him clean a few times. But, if Ricky does get the wrestling going, maybe he takes the back and can lock in a submission. Let's rock with it. All right, fight inside the distance, plus 175 for the second fight. This is not a confident one. I'm going to tell you right now, we're kind of taking a shot in the dark here. Now we get to the heavyweight divisions. Josh Hokit, one of the hottest heavyweight prospects, versus Denzel Freeman. If you follow me on social media like IG and TikTok, I put the video out a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago, that I think Denzel Freeman at plus 185 is the play in this fight. And it's not so much that I think Denzel Freeman is this, stud of a striker or grappler. I just think Josh Hokit is too inexperienced. He's fought nothing but cans so far in his career. He's a former football player and wrestler, just getting into MMA in the last couple of years. We see those guys kind of fall on their face every now and then when they get to the UFC level, whereas Freeman, he's a high school and college wrestler as well. He's a former Marine. He's got his fair share of fights. He's fought in Steven Asplin in LFA. He's a champion over there, submitted Steven Asplin and, made pretty easy work of him in that fight. I think if you're Freeman, you march forward, put him against the cage, look for takedowns. If not, at space, he's got the more technical striking. It's just he's got to cover up and be safe when Hokit rushes in. I actually think somebody's going to gas here and then start eating big shots and drop or get submitted. So, yes, I took a flyer on Freeman earlier in the week, but for this show, I kind of start to like fight doesn't start round 3 at -115. I think that, again, I think there is a world where Hokit marches him down and the blitzing pressure and the big shots are just too much for Freeman because he hasn't really seen that yet. And I also think there's a world where Hokit blows his load in the first round, gasses out. Freeman can get top position, get a ground and pound TKO or submission. So I'm going to take this fight to not start round 3 at -115. I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight. I think it should be a decent one, but that's what we're rocking with in that fight. Now we're getting one of the best fights on the card, boys. Alexander Hernandez taking on Michael Johnson. This is going to be, I think, somewhat of a close fight for a while. You got Alexander Hernandez now on a 4-fight win streak. I think he's got a lot of momentum. I think up at this weight class, this is his rightful weight class. He takes shots a little bit better. He seems to have better cardio here. And I think that's going to be all the difference in this fight against Michael Johnson. If he's able to compete on the feet with him for a full 15 minutes, he's going to have his chances to hurt Johnson. He is going to land some big shots. I think he could even mix in the wrestling and grappling as well, which, could benefit him. We've seen Michael Johnson submitted. We've seen him knocked out before. Now, I will say Michael Johnson's hand speed is still very, very good, and he's got a little pop in his shots as well. But, at the end of the day, 39 years old, the speed for sure is going to be there. But I just think Alex Hernandez, even though Michael Johnson's on a 3-fight win streak, I think Alex Hernandez's 3-fight win streak is a little bit more legit. And he's a guy who still probably has title aspirations, a little bit younger, 33 years old, compared to a Michael Johnson who's probably doing this for the love of the game and maybe a paycheck. I'm going to rock with the younger fighter. My play on this fight is Alexander Hernandez at -155. Now for one of my favorite fighters on the entire roster, Charles Johnson, who's taking on Alex Perez. And man, Alex Perez always looks good until he doesn't. He's been a bag fumbler, especially in his last 6 fights. I think he's 1-5 in his last 6. Some of those fights, he's looking really good. He's competitive with Tatsuro Taira, gets his back taken, his knee blown out. He's beating Asu Almabayev, who is a guy that's, probably, is he in the top 10 now? At flyweight, I would imagine so. Winning that whole fight and gets submitted in round 3, a Hail Mary guillotine by Asu. So yeah, I can't trust him whatsoever. And honestly, I don't see where Perez is going to be able to get out to a lead against a guy like Charles Johnson. I think Perez, if he mixes in the takedowns, Johnson's a good scrambler. He's got good front chokes himself, or at least, he can lock one in. Perez gets submitted all the time. But at range, Charles Johnson has shown very good Muay Thai. His knees are good up the middle. He has a good body kick. He's always throwing something, always moving. He's got phenomenal cardio. And even though Alex Perez is, not even in it quite in his mid-30s yet, the guy has had a long career, fought in a lot of good guys, been knocked out, been submitted. So, I think he's in an uphill battle against the guy in Charles Johnson, who, to me, seems like one of the most motivated guys on the roster. That's really all I got to see in a matchup like this. You got a guy who's knocked out Joshua Van, knocked out Lunaire Kavanaugh, which I didn't see coming whatsoever. And this time, maybe he goes out and knocks out Alex Perez, but I think we're getting a little bit of a gift with his money line at -170. I mean, I think he's going to go out there, put the pace on, put on a clinic in the striking, scramble in the grappling. Maybe it's a close fight, but I just don't see Perez being as competitive as a Joshua Van or a Lunaire Kavanaugh at this stage. So give me Charles Johnson on the money line for my official play for this fight. Next fight, we're going to find out if this man is washed or not. Nikita Krylov taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Right off the grip, the one thing that I notice in this matchup is that this is a big step up in competition for Modestas Bukauskas, and this is quite a step down for Nikita Krylov. Now, Krylov hasn't looked as fast and is, since he's had a couple of injuries, hasn't looking as sharp or youthful in that, for that matter. He's 33 years old now. He's had somewhat of a long career. I mean, a really long pro career, 30 wins, 11 losses. And I think some signs are starting to show. I mean, getting knocked out by Bogdan Guskov. I mean, Jan Blachowicz almost got knocked out by him. Guskov has destroyed some guys before that. And his knockout loss before that was against Dominic Reyes, a guy who arguably beat John Jones and has some insane power for the division as well. But I mean, you look before that, Ryan Spann landed some big shots, got some takedowns when he needed to, scrambled really, really well. Volkan Oezdemir, that's the last time that Nikita Krylov really, really looked like a potential top 5 guy in the division. Against Volkan, man, he stuck around in the striking, landed some nasty head kicks, had Volkan wobbled on multiple occasions, but he mixed in those timely takedowns, had top control, took his back a couple of times, was close to locking into some submissions, and I just thought overall looked very, very good in that outing. If we get any glimpse of that, I'm going to be okay with taking the underdog shot here against Modestas Bukauskas. I don't think Modestas is a terrible fighter, but I don't think he's a top-tier guy at all either. I think his first stint in the UFC was not a good look whatsoever, but he's fighting decent guys. Jimmy Crute, Michael Olazejczyk, and Khalil Roundtree were his losses. Had to go back to Cage Warriors, get back in the win column, and then gets the call to the UFC and, beats Tyson Pedro by decision, beats Zach Pauga, who doesn't have a good chin whatsoever, beats him by decision, and then loses to Vitor Petrino, just getting starched in the second round. But again, his fight against Marcin Prachnio, a guy who is not good whatsoever at this point, he gets head kicked in the second round and wobbled super bad. He had those baby deer legs going on in the middle of the octagon, but then it was able to come back and get a late submission when Prachnio was gassed. He knocks out Rafael Cerqueira, okay? Cerqueira has been knocked out or just beat pillar to post every single time he steps in the octagon, is not UFC level whatsoever. Split decision gift of a win against Ion Cutelaba, where Cutelaba clearly, I thought, won that fight, hands down. Bukauskas got stuck just throwing no volume, not doing much of anything. And then he beats Paul Craig, whose career was way, way done. So I can't put a whole lot of stock, honestly, in any 4 of those wins. Now you're getting Krylov, maybe a little bit washed, starting to get slower. But I think if Krylov can get his game going and keep Bukauskas guessing, is he going to shoot a takedown? Is he going to hit him with the high kick? I think this could be a very competitive fight. And I like the experience of Krylov, the high-level experience. I think I like the dangerous weapons he's got on the ground with the jiu-jitsu. I think a back take is very possible if he gets the fight to the mat here. I think he's going to be levels above Modestas in that department. I'm hoping Krylov comes out here and just shoots a takedown off the grip and gets it. And, I'll take the underdog shot on Nikita Krylov. I think a lot of people are going to have that recency bias for Modestas, thinking that, man, this dude's on a 4-fight win streak. This dude's going to climb the ranks, possibly, get his name in the mix with some big, big fights. But at the end of the day, man, he's beating guys that are way past their prime on their retirement fight, or guys like Rafael Cerqueira who are nowhere near UFC level. So I'll take a flyer on the underdog. Give me Nikita Krylov here on the money line. Next fight, I don't think we got to spend a whole lot of time talking about this because we're getting Atiba Gautier versus Andre Pulyaev. I don't think Pulyaev is a terrible fighter. I just don't think that he's going to have the durability to compete with a Gautier. I think Atiba Gautier is the goods. 3 years old? It's either 23 or 25. Seems to be getting better. He actually has a little composure to him in the striking now, where he's picking his shots a little bit better. There's no real wasted energy. And when he cracks you, I don't think there's a lot of guys at this, lower half to mid half of this division. They're going to be able to take his power. And I don't think Andre Pulyaev is any exception here. Pulyaev is a guy, in his debut against Christian Leroy Duncan. I understand CLD is a good high caliber fighter, but he only landed, 16 significant strikes compared to 70 something from CLD. If that happens here, first of all, I don't think he's going to be able to eat 78 significant strikes from Gautier. I think the first couple that Gautier lands, it's going to really start to amount the damage. And, I'll keep it short and sweet here. I think that Atiba Gautier wins in round 1 or 2. I'm just going to spread my money out, taking round 1 KO, round 2 KO. There's not much else that's really intriguing in this fight. Maybe you take fight doesn't start round 2, or what is the over under? Let's find out. Well, I don't even see the fight now. Either or, I guess if you're getting a decent number on the under 1.5, which I'm guessing you're not, I think you just take round 1 KO, sprinkle round 2 KO in case it goes long, and you can get some of your money recovered and a little bit of profit too. So, yeah, this dude's a freak, man. I can't wait to see him matched up with some higher level guys, because I think that experience will take him a long way. And if the UFC takes their time with him and moves him up, at a slower pace, Atiba Gautier could be a name you hear for a long time and possibly title contention one day. So, Atiba Gautier, round 1 or round 2 KO. Featured prelim fight of the night, Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Deiveson Figueiredo. Figueiredo coming off of a cashing out people as a big underdog against Montel Jackson. A phenomenal fight for Figgy. Turned back the clock a little bit and just looked super solid, super durable, and mixed in all of his weapons very, very well. His striking looked good. But again, you're fighting Umar Nurmagomedov now. He's not going to pull a Montel Jackson where he freezes up and forgets to strike and can't wrestle and defend takedowns. Umar is going to be on the offensive attack, I think, this whole entire fight. I think he's going to march forward, land some big kicks, possibly hurt Figgy on the feet at times, but I think mixing in that wrestling, taking his back, I honestly think that there's going to be opportunities for submissions for Umar Nurmagomedov in this spot. I also think a ground and pound TKO could be very live as well. I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to lean. Ultimately, I think he probably would pull off the submission if there's a finish in this fight, because we've seen Figgy submitted before, and Umar, Figgy being a little bit older now and Umar being right in his prime, training with the Habibs, Islams, that grappling is on point. He's going to be stronger than Figgy. He gets in those dominant positions, man, it's going to be a long night and potential trouble. We saw Corey Sandhagen able to finish him. Umar, here's the thing with Umar. He's getting to be somewhat of a decision merchant, or a lot of people are saying that. And if he wants to get back to a title fight, I think he's going to have a big performance. And there's no better guy to do that than a Figueiredo, who's older now, maybe not quite as durable, has a lot of wars under his belt. But again, this guy's a 125er, former world champion, was on an insane streak, had some insane fights against guys like Brandon Moreno. If you get a big finish over a guy like that, surely that holds a lot of weight in this division to keep pushing yourself towards that title conversation. And I think that's what Umar is going to aim to do in this spot. So for me, I'm going to take some plus money here. I'll take Umar Nurmagomedov to win by finish plus 125. If he doesn't get it, I'm not laying that big chalk on a decision. And I think we'll be disappointed if this doesn't cash, because I do think we'll find Umar Nurmagomedov in some dominant positions with chances to find the sub or the TKO. Umar by finish, my official play for this fight. We're on the first main card of 2026, boys. UFC 324. Gene Silva is taking on Arnold Allen to kick us off. This is a banger. This is an absolute banger, and I think Gene Silva is going to react to that loss against Diego Lopez in one of two ways. One, he's going to completely change his game, be calm, composed, collective, a very conservative Gene Silva we may see for the first time, and go out there and kind of cruise to a victory, land the bigger shots. Or two, he's going to get so pissed off, come out here looking to take somebody's head off, and I kind of lean for this way to be the one that Gene Silva takes this weekend against Arnold Allen. Easier said than done. I get Arnold Allen is a guy who's never been knocked out in his career. 20 wins, 3 losses, phenomenal record. But Arnold Allen is also very inactive at this stage in his career. He's coming off of some injuries. And the thing that I don't really love seeing is, him getting wobbled pretty bad by a jab from Movsar Evloev. He got hurt pretty bad against Giga Chikadze. Now Gene Silva off of a layoff, a guy who's extremely hungry, a guy who was just crying when he was in the room alone with the UFC title belt. He's got title aspirations like that. He wants it so bad that it makes him emotional. I think that's a dangerous fighter. And on top of that, he's probably top 3 most violent fighters on the entire roster. So I think that's all bad news for Arnold Allen. I don't know what Arnold's going to do in this fight to really win a ton of minutes. He has these moments where he blitzes forward and gets into these wild exchanges. It got him caught and dropped in the last 10 seconds of the fight against Max Holloway. It's got him hurt before against like Mavzar, like I mentioned. And if you do that against Gene Silva, Silva is lightning fast with the 1-2 down the middle. He puts everything into that right hand, and he's very timely. He's very precise, has good timing, and the power is there too. It's very real. So I think Gene Silva might be the first person to knock out Arnold Allen. So my official play for this fight, Gene Silva to win by KO at plus 130. Going to the female fight, Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. Man, Rose just hasn't quite looked like the old Rose we know and love. She's now 14-7, although she's fighting the best fighters in the division, or at least, mainly. Miranda Maverick, she just got a unanimous decision win, which was an even striking matchup if you go look at the numbers. Miranda is on her way up a little bit, not quite the top. Loses to Erin Blanchfield after completely fumbling, wins the first 2 rounds, drops the third, gasses out, drops the next 2. Beats Tracy Cortez, but she let Tracy Cortez back into that fight. Beats Amanda Hebos, loses to Manon Farrow. That's a high-level fighter. The Carla Esparza fight, everybody would wish to forget. But then the 2 fights before that, she beat Weili Zhang back-to-back. That was the end of Rose's prime right there. Those Joanna fights and the Zhang fights were right there where Rose was having her best years. You can kind of see she's lost a little bit of a step. She kind of doesn't have that phenomenal cardio and wrestling and grappling like she once did. She's not quite as strong. And Natalia Silva is kind of the opposite, right? She is getting to her prime. She's got phenomenal takedown defense, and her striking is on a different level, man. The kicks are nasty. The jab is super fast and nasty. I think she's going to hit Rose a lot in this fight. I don't know if she knocks her out, but I do think ultimately, her pace, her volume, and her accuracy is probably going to look a lot better to the judges. She's got some flashy kicks in her arsenal where Rose wants to be technical, have that boxing style in close. I think Natalia Silva is going to have none of that. She's going to stay on the outside and just kind of pick her apart. It's kind of a passing of the torch type of fight. You're getting one of the all-time greats in Rose, passing it down to a girl with a ton of hype and who's looked phenomenal. I think Natalia does win this fight. I think it's by decision. I think Rose has a little bit left as far as the durability with the chin and the submission defense. So I'm going to take Natalia Silva to win this fight by decision. That is my official play for this fight. Next fight up, Waldo Cortez-Acosta taking on Derek Lewis. Shout out Waldo. He just collabed with us at Home a Fight for his first merch drop. Make sure to check that out. I will try to put the link in the bio if you want to get the Pirate merch. The t-shirts are pretty sick. He wore it to the press conference. You can grab one today. Use Home of Fight for a 10 or 20% off, I believe. But just use code HOF and get you a little discount if you want some Pirate merch. I know I'm going to be buying some for sure, especially after he wins. I might just buy a couple and send a few to somebody who comments on this post. But I see a lot of people picking Derek Lewis to pull off the upset here. And it's very, very possible because he's got that kind of power, obviously, that can change the fight in the blink of an eye. We've seen it before. We've seen him down on the cards and win by knockout with 10 seconds left. I mean, it's Derek Lewis. He's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen in his fights. Someone's probably getting knocked out, probably. But, I think Waldo possesses a little bit of a challenge for the Black Beast to find those big shots. Because at the end of the day, Waldo's got a professional boxing background. He's very fast for heavyweight. He's got good movement. He rolls with his punches very well. And, he'll plant his feet and trade with you if he feels like he has to, or if he gets backed into a corner. And I don't think Derek Lewis is exempt from getting knocked out by Waldo here, if I'm being very honest. And I think it could be an attritional type of thing, too, where Derek starts to get tired. Waldo is pumping that jab to the midsection all night long and then comes upstairs with a big right hook. I could see something like that happening for sure. But at the end of the day, here's what this is kind of a play that it's a little bit of a long shot, but I kind of like my theory here. I think Waldo knows how he can lose this fight is by knockout, which I think is going to make him very, very careful in the striking exchanges, to the fact that I think he's going to point fight a little bit with Derek Lewis, because if he point fights with him and that big shot from Lewis never comes, 9.9 times out of 10, Waldo is going to win these sparring sessions, if you will. I could see this fight turning into that. Derek Lewis might blitz in and stuff, but I think Waldo's going to be right out of the way, sidestep, circle out, and do it all over again. Waldo Cortez-Acosta by decision. Let me see what the number is now. I think it's kind of a sneaky play because everybody and their mother, it's like, oh, it's a Derek Lewis fight. We got to hit this knockout prop, but not so fast. I think Waldo could, be that durable guy that can take a few, but also is going to be very careful with his striking. Yeah, look at this. 50% of the money's on Derek Lewis at plus 270. That's the most public underdog of this entire week. Let's see. Fight to go to a decision is plus 200. Waldo to win by decision, plus 250. I mean, that or KO's minus 115. I don't really like a chalk price on a knockout prop for him here. Oh, I think I'm going to do it. I think this will be, somewhat of a long shot for me giving out on the show here. I'm going to take Waldo Cortez-Acosta to win by decision at plus 250. I could definitely see this one happen. I might look at round 3 KO for Waldo just in case, Derek does gas out. Let's see. Waldo to win round 3 and knockout plus 650. You could sprinkle that. We'll take Waldo decision plus 250, sprinkle on round 3 just for fun plus 650. But yeah, I just don't see I don't see a world where he's out there, just planting his feet and getting into these brawling exchanges with Derek Lewis. I think he knows the win streak he's on, or not the streak, but the momentum he has coming off of 5 fights in 2025. I think he really needs a win over Derek Lewis, and he cements himself as a legitimate player in this division. Waldo Cortez-Acosta by decision, official play. Next fight, Sean O'Malley versus Yadong Song, and this is a great fight. Sean O'Malley, I guess he's got 3 losses in the UFC. Chito Vera, which he avenged and beat him 50-45 badly. And then, of course, the 2 losses to Merab. It's hard to judge a guy off of 2 losses to Merab because we know how great Merab really is. But, O'Malley, if he's really, truly into fighting still and wants to make another run, wants to be champion, he's got to have a big performance here against Song Yadong because the word's out there now. People think O'Malley was maybe a little bit of a hype job and it doesn't have his heart fully in this anymore. And if you go in there against Yadong Song, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, he's probably going to beat you because he's very, very solid. However, if Sean's locked in and he's on, Yadong Song is super, super beatable for a guy like Sean O'Malley. If O'Malley stays on the outside, I think he's going to have to defend a takedown or 2, which I think he can do against Song. But if he stays on the outside for the majority of the fight, like he did against Chito Vera, I think he's going to pick him apart. He's got the length, the height, the reach. He's very, very crafty. He's accurate, and he's got some power and can do some damage too. We've seen Yadong Song hurt before in fights. If he comes out here and he can't get takedowns, he's got to rely on that big knockout shot. And I think O'Malley is very durable, and I think it's going to be hard to land that on O'Malley without getting countered, a knee up the middle, whatever it is. I think if Sean is locked in, Sean could put on a masterpiece type of performance against Yadong Song here. Nothing against Song. I just think it's a bad matchup stylistically on the feet. He's got to get the wrestling going. Don't really see that happening, or at least not holding him down. So yeah, I'm going to go Sean O'Malley to win this. I think Yadong's durable enough, so I'm going O'Malley by decision for my official play in this fight. It's what we're rocking with. I hope O'Malley gets that win. I'd love to see him on the White House card. O'Malley by decision, official play for this fight. Paddy the Baddie taking on Justin Gaethje, first main event of 2025. I love that they're putting Justin Gaethje in this spot because he's exciting. He's a hard hitter, so many bonuses, always in fun fights, and that's exactly what the UFC needs to kick off this Paramount deal. However, facing Paddy Pimblett at this point, I think is a tall, tall task for Justin Gaethje. If anybody can knock out Paddy, it's probably Justin. I think Paddy's very, very durable. He's got a very good chin. Maybe he gets rocked this fight, but I think he's going to scramble. He's going to shoot some timely takedowns if he does get rocked. He's very big. He's strong. I think he can get those takedowns here. And, once it gets to the mat, I think Paddy Pimblett is constantly improving for one, but his jiu-jitsu is just levels and levels above Justin Gaethje's. Paddy's grappling is nasty, man. I don't think he gets enough credit. He's a little unorthodox. He's not the biggest natural-born athlete. Sometimes he looks a little sloppy doing things, but he's very, very effective. Even with the striking, very effective. Good leg kicks himself. That's another thing he's got to look out for. Can't get that leg chopped down by Justin Gaethje. But, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Paddy to get in on a single leg, to get in, fight against the cage, try to work for takedowns. And while it's at range, Paddy's good at closing the distance with that big right hand, but he's also very patient, takes his time. I don't think he's going to put himself into harm's way all that much against Gaethje. And when Gaethje does blitz in looking for big shots, I think that's when Paddy's going to duck under, grab the waist or the leg, get the fight to the mat, rinse and repeat until he looks for a finish. My one concern, I guess, would be that Paddy gasses out. And people talk about his cardio, but, they're talking about the Tony Ferguson fight where Ferguson came on late and Paddy looked completely drained. Paddy hurt Tony badly early in that fight, and he completely emptied the clip trying to get the finish. But Tony, at that point was hard to finish. I don't necessarily think Paddy has a terrible cardio. I think if you look at his progression as far as, getting fat and then skinny for fight time, I think this time around in the last year or two, he's kind of dialed it in with a nutritionist. He looks to be in phenomenal shape. He looked amazing against Michael Chandler. I was there in person. He's got so many fans in the crowd. They're just giving him all the energy as he's fighting and as he's walking to the cage. I think this all works in Paddy's favor. And he's also a guy who's still somewhat young, but he's getting better and better between fights. And every time he steps in the octagon, I think that's been very, very evident from the time he fought Tony Ferguson to the time he beat Bobby Green by submission and then put on a clinic with the striking and grappling against Michael Chandler, getting that TKO in that spot as well. I think it's Paddy's time. I think the UFC, has a star with Paddy Pimblett, and I think that star just keeps rising. And if you can beat Justin Gaethje, it's obviously a unification title fight in his next one out. Maybe even at the White House against a guy like Ilia Topuria. What better storyline could you get? It'd be the biggest fight of the year so far because of the bad blood. I like Paddy here. I think he wins by submission or decision, and you can get that prop right now at -135. Double chance, Paddy Pimblett by sub or decision, and that's going to be it for the first card of 2026. Boys, the inception of this show was in April of 2025. We're not even a year in, and we're doing good numbers. We had a big end to the year. We had a big year the whole entire 2025, though. We made so much money. I think we ended up 28 profitable cards and 6 ones that we didn't make money. Tell me who else is doing that. Like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of people come on YouTube and they do a really good job of breaking down the fights and doing predictions and predicting who they think wins. But I mean, a lot of these guys are big favorites. Some of it's just written on the wall. I don't see anybody going and giving one bet for every single fight and posting the results, win or lose, every single week. We're going to stand on business. If we win, stand on it. If we lose, transparency always. But man, I love this show so much. I've been so excited to get behind the microphone for a long form YouTube show for you guys. Make sure to hit the like button on this video, comment down below, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I think next week we'll do some kind of big giveaway, so make sure you do comment on this video. That's all you got to do to get entered in. Make sure you're subscribed as always. We'll see you guys next week for another pay-per-view card. Back-to-back number cards for Paramount. This is going to be a lot of fun this year. Can't wait to see where the show goes. Happy 2026. Let's make some money all year long.